D-Roy Cruz here, your Life Applications Officer. I don't even know where I'm going to put this. I might put this on my Christian channel, or I might put this on, I'll probably put this on my political channel. I might try to put it on both. But yeah, I think I'm going to put it on my political channel first because there is so much, and if I look like I just got hit with a rock, I just woke up and I was listening to Lou Valentino, one of my new favorites, but his confusion between Israel and Palestinians in this war with Hamas is killing me. One second. Now, one thing you need to understand is, the guy that is the president of Israel right now is one thing. The prime minister is another thing. The prime minister, I got to know him years ago on a documentary that was here on YouTube. And he invited Christians to go, and this was back either in 21 or 2019 that I saw this. Probably 2019, right after he became, because I think he became prime minister in 2018. No. He goes all the way back to 1997 or something like that, I think. What am I thinking? The prime minister gets longer time than the president. This guy, Netanyahu, that's it. Netanyahu. They pronounce it Netanyahu. Okay. I think Valentino pronounced it different. This guy was in a documentary that I stumbled into, and it was current. It was like around the time, you know how you watch videos on YouTube and they're like 5 years, 10 years ago, whatever. No, this was like within that month that I watched. It was a new video and it was sent to me. I stumbled upon it, and he was taking these Christians around Israel, and he took them everywhere. He took them to, he took them to Solomon's temple. He took them to Simon, Jordan, he took them everywhere. He was, he had like Secret Service with him, as well as armed guards with them, and they were in a boat, and they mainly went everywhere by boat, which they felt was safest for him to travel. He went and he rode by boat, and he had to go into, I think, the Palestinian territory, to show them the dome, and to show them, is that where the dome is at? No, it's not. The dome is in Israel, but anyway, he had to take them into Palestinian territory and point from boat. And he had a whole army with him, and he had to point to the holy places. There's holy places of Jews in Palestine, and there's holy places of Palestinians in Israel. Okay. He took them all through what was Israel's property, and he rode them through. He even shook hands with some Palestinians, and introduce. They talked about peace and with these Christians, and I think they got out the boat and they went to some of the most peaceful places in that region, and then they got back on and they went to these places. And he shows you the different things that are going on in Israel. He even showed, which kind of pissed me off, he showed a statue of atheism. They have artwork out there now. They have, a certain number of the people of Israel are now atheists. And he was saying that this is just something that just, he just noticed happening. He don't know where it came from, but there's a certain number of Israelite people that are calling themselves, identifying themselves as atheists. And so there are statues that are, they're away from the general public, but they remain in buildings. Well, by now they would be anyway. At that time, there was this private artist, and he was making statues for, Christians. He was making Christian monumental statues and stuff. And right next to that, he had the atheist stuff that he was creating. And he was doing this. He was, he was getting paid. Israel was being paid well to do this artwork and stuff like that. And the guy said he don't discriminate. What's discriminating? Okay. Give me a break. Okay. This is Israel we're talking about. Okay. Keep it holy. But anyway, he did this, and Netanyahu didn't mind. Okay. He said, this is where we're at now. So he's not just, now I had to look this up right here because I wanted to find out what his Christian beliefs were. The internet won't tell you. They won't tell you what his Christian, they won't just come out and say, where he confessed to being a Christian. Now, I do know that during the tour that he was on, he did say to the Christians that he believes the majority of the Bible, he believes in the Messiah. If I'm correct. Now, if I'm wrong, but he showed them Jesus's tomb. He believes different than a lot of the Judaic people in Israel. He believes in the Messiah. He believes in Christians. He believes in Christianity. He believes in Now, if you know more about Netanyahu is his name. Remember the Yahoo, the Y-A, that's where you end. Netanyahu. If you know more about him than I do, please confess. But here, he says here that evangelistical Christians are Israel's best friends. In this article here. And he tells you why. Okay, and so I think he did this article around the time that he invited these Christians, before or after that he invited these Christians to come and take a complete tour of Israel with him. They went to the Waiting Wall, they went to the Dome, they went to places where only he could go. And he was armed with Secret Service people, as well as his military. I mean, he was covered, okay? And he did go to, the parts of Israel where Palestinians live, and they have their temples and they have all their different things. He actually got off the boat and shook hands with them and introduced them to these Christians, okay? But they did everything mostly by boat, and they would stop, get off, walk around, get back on the boat. He felt, and he said that in the video, that he felt that was the safest route to go, because of war that tends to happen in Israel and so forth and so on. And it was the safest route to go so that he didn't get a whole lot of, like, draw a whole lot of attention to himself and cause all these people to come around him and all like that. Because if he's in the water, it's easier for his security to keep crowds back and all that kind of stuff. Okay. But he says here in this article, you can read, it's called Netanyahu Evangelical Christians are Israel's best friends. And he says down at the bottom here somewhere, there's a picture of him. He says down here at the bottom, he also says that that Israel is America's best friend. And he talks about their allegiance to America and America's allegiance to them. Okay? Now, I'm probably not going to be able to go where I want to go. Let me see. Get out of here. Get out. Right, that's what I wanted. Let me go to my YouTube. I was watching Valentino. And I said this in a comment. My YouTube. Where is my YouTube? Oh, there it is. I keep forgetting it's not a red hick anymore. Okay. Now let's go to my history. Here we are here. Okay. And I'm going to turn the volume down because I don't really... Okay, so there he is, Valentino on my left, and this black brother on my right. Okay. Let's get one thing straight. Jesus was not black, and blacks are not Jews. Black people, like white people, are a number of races. They are not, there's no such thing as a white race or a black race. Now you say white people are European. Well, isn't European people a nation and not, isn't Europe a nation and not a group of people? They're not a race. There's Europeans that are brown skin, white skin, yellow skin, you name it, in Europe. And this has been going on for a long time, just as much as it's been going on here in America. So when you say white people are European, now you say white people are Caucasian, and a white country boy corrected me about that one day. He said, "Look at me. Do I look like I'm a half Asian to you?" He said, I'm from the steers, boy. I'm from way out south in the backwoods, okay, of Louisiana. What you talking about? I ain't Caucasian. Don't be calling me Caucasian. Okay? That's a skin tone. That means that a Caucasian means a white person has very fair skin. But to me, fair skin has melanin in it. So if you don't have melanin in your skin, I don't call that fair skin. This guy right here on my left, Lou Valentino, has very, very, very fair skin. He's got the fair hair to go with it. Okay, to me, that's fair skin. This brother on my right started off good because he was listening to this white dude that was explaining to Valentino that, Valentino is confused about where the Jews are in this war. Well, first of all, did Hamas start this war, or was that the first news report that got thrown in the river? Like, Hamas started this war. And I had to look up, Gaza is near Israel, I think. Don't quote me. Gaza is harboring terrorists, a terrorist group named Hamas. Now, Hamas is not Gaza. Hamas is from Gaza, but they are not Gaza. Gaza has just as many anti-terrorists like the rest of the, Palestinian Arab world. It has just as many non-terrorists as they do terrorists, okay? But Hamas is being babied by people that live here in the U.S., white people, as well as Palestinian people living here in the U.S., as well as Arab and Indian people living here in the U.S. More Middle Eastern people more than anything are supporting Hamas and getting upset about what Israel's doing. But again, Hamas, not necessarily Gaza, but Hamas started this war. Now, I do agree with Valentino and some of the people that have been on this show that Israel should go after Hamas and try to find a way to leave Gaza out of it. But that might not be easy to do. Also, he says here that a parking lot was bombed. And it wasn't bombed by Israel, it was bombed by Hamas. And for whatever reason they bombed that parking lot. I think it was a misfire or something. But the hospital was not bombed. The people in the hospital were safe. They might be suffering from, smoke ventilation or whatever, problems or whatever. They might be getting sick up in there because of the bombing. But the parking lot was bombed, not the hospital. Meanwhile, you got these women, like this one activist for, Palestinians living here in America, and I think she's actually a Republican. She's going off about how could Israel bomb a hospital, and news proves that it was not the hospital that got bombed. Hamas tried to shoot a rocket into Israel or something and hit the parking lot instead of the hospital. Nobody, Hamas or Israel, tried to bomb the hospital. It didn't happen. Okay? According to Lou Valentino and the people that are actually out there journaling in Israel and here in America, the people that are actually journaling, it did not happen. Okay? They're there to see it. They walk through the parking lot. The bomb is over. They walk through the bombed up parking lot. It didn't happen. Okay? But this black man, and I want to go back a little bit. He spoke to Martinez, Dan Martinez, what was it, Dan Martino or something like that. I forget this guy's name. But he spoke with him, and he spoke with this guy. I think this guy's from Canada. This guy right here, I think he's from Canada. I forget his name. I didn't get his name at all. But anyway, this guy was explaining to Martinez why he knows that Israel is innocent in all this. And Israel is innocent basically no matter what they do, because actually I will go to prison for this, but I believe that Israel should blow anything that attacks them, especially close enough, like within their region. First of all, I think they should peaceably remove Palestinians from Israel. They should send Palestinians, they should deport them. Send them back home to wherever they came from. They should get them off of their land. That'll squash a lot of stuff. Get them out of there. Leave all that land to Israel. Okay? Second of all, I believe again that Israel should go after Hamas, and they should keep going after Hamas. If they have to put boots on the ground in Gaza after the war is over, they should destroy Hamas unless Gaza wants to arrest Hamas and shut them down and overtake them and overpower them and lock them up and make them suffer and be punished for the crimes that they've done, not only to Israel, but to other parts of the region. Because they literally are a terrorist group. They're not out for peace. No matter where they go, they're not out for peace. Israel are people like Americans who, in my opinion, are people just like Americans. Who are bringing more and more freedom into Israel. Israelites, David Lynn has been to Israel and preached in Israel, and a lot of the other evangelists that I watch here on YouTube, they've been to Israel. They've been to Israel, and they've been to Israel, and they've been into the part of Israel where a lot of people are gay, atheists, okay, and they're out there shopping at the mall and doing, they took me to places in Israel I didn't know existed. Whenever I think of Israel, I think of the most vintage place in the world. Like, this place got to be 1800 something, 1600 something. You know what I mean? Everybody dressing in a dashiki or whatever. It's not that, though. There are people in Israel. Matter of fact, I met a ukulele player. And I was following him around on YouTube. Who actually, he teaches ukulele in Israel. Matter of fact, he's in that movie called The Mighty Uke. And he showed you how people live in Israel, how their streets and roads are, and how the kids get together. And he showed you in this video how Palestinian children and Israelite children get together and they go to the same schools. They even go to the same schools depending on what territory they are from. Okay, they even go to the same schools. And then you got Palestinians there who are like communicating with Gaza and communicating with Hamas and saying, okay, it's time. Kapow. Okay, and that's the only way they can do this stuff. These Palestinians half of them got to be enemies of Israel. That's why they keep having the same war over and over again. And Israel's starting to get like the angry lion, where, my man acted like a regular secular, now when they show the Israelite military, they show Netanyahu as head of the military. They show his face standing there looking at the war and all like that, and helping decide what to do next. Okay, so these people are angry, and they're fighting back. Like, say somebody come into my house and they do damage. They come in my house, and while I'm reaching for my gun, because I know they broke in, I'm reaching for my gun. They attack and assault my wife, and attack my children. Okay. And then what do? Okay. Now, I'm not going to attack somebody's wife and kids. That's just me. But I got to get them because I'm not waiting on the police to come. They could be back here and do it again by the time the police come. So they go out there, and I got my big AR-14 or whatever, and I'm blasting, and they're blasting back. Windows, glass are flying everywhere. Everybody's on the ground. We're blasting back. So finally, they evade, back up. Is that the end of the war? Oh, what, I'm gonna wait for them to break in again? What I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put fencing around my house so I can't see out my own windows and ruin the piece of the village that I live in? What am I gonna do? Am I gonna wait for the police to come here and say, okay, well, let us know? What? Let you know what? I gave you a description. Especially here in Pittsburgh. Like, I'm tired of letting the police know stuff. Okay? What am I going to do? I got to go after these perps. And then I find out that they're doing this to other men's wives and children. We got dead children. We got sexually assaulted wives. Okay? What are we going to do? Send a bomb? And blow up their neighborhood? We're going to do something. What are we going to do? Go on and sexually assault their wives? I'm not going to do that. Okay? I ain't doing that. What are we going to do? What do you want us to do? Oh, okay. We've come for peace. You got our hostages. You killed our children. You raped our wives. You got some of our wives hostages. We know what you're doing to them in there. Okay, what do you want us to do? We're asking for peace. What do you want us to do? What they gonna do? Send me home? And say, we'll let you know when we're coming back? Or what, they're going to kill us on the spot? Probably. They're just going to start shooting at us. What are they going to do? Oh, we'll give you our land. We'll give you our land. And and let me tell you something about terrorists. Terrorists don't do anything without mayhem. That's just like back when years ago, right before Donald Trump got in office, you remember it was all over the news, the sex raids and all that stuff that was going on in Syria, Afghanistan, Pakistan, the war out there. I think it was Iraq that was the main issue. But you remember it was Syria though. You remember the sex raids? And it was was it the Taliban? It was the Taliban. You remember these sex raids? We got it all on video. Matter of fact, I have those videos stored somewhere in my list. Where the women were leaving their husbands and prostituting themselves to these terrorists to make peace. And while they were doing this, women were being tortured. Women were being beheaded, set on fire, and all that stuff, like the Christian persecution that's going on in Israel right now. I mean, not Israel. The Christian persecution that's going on in India right now. Okay? This is what they were doing. And they would pick, the women that looked like they could do porn. They were sparing their lives. And the women that they didn't desire, they were just burning them and beheading them and you name it. And yeah, these women came and they were laying on their back for these men, these terrorists. Meanwhile, these men were still killing their husbands, still killing children, and still terrorizing their own cities, as well as Americans. And oh my God, just imagine what they did to Americans. One thing about war, when God's wrath went to Sodom and Gomorrah, now it didn't talk about the death toll in Sodom and Gomorrah in the Bible, if I read it correctly. But let's look at it when God goes to war. When God goes to war, everything that you care for, that you love, will be destroyed. So when God makes war, how does God make war? The earthquake. Does the earthquake have any concerns about children or women? It's very non-sexual. It's very non-sexual. Because sex is celebration of when there is peace. Sex is a moral issue between a man and his wife. Sex has nothing to do, America, sex has nothing to do with anything but a man and his wife that are married in holy matrimony, male and female in love, holy matrimony. God does not go around attacking people sexually, but when the Philistines and the Amorites and the Jebusites and the Moabites and all the ites attack people in the Bible in the name of their false god and in the name of the Christian God, they attacked us. What did they do? Did they go back and all the women and the children, we need you out of here right now? No. They went and they just shot up. Well, they didn't shoot up, but they killed everything that ran at them. Now, if you look at the history in the Bible, there were children that grew up to be Jew because they were refugees, they were captives, they were casualties from the war. But once they set something on fire, they didn't call the fire department and say, oh, we set the building on fire, you'll need the fire department to go in there and get the women and the children out of there. No, if you was a woman or a child, you got burned. When God said wipe them out, you wipe them out. There's even a scripture in the Bible where they didn't wipe somebody out and he grew up to be a terrorist. And he made war with Israel. And God said, I told you to wipe them out, but you didn't. This is why you're going through this. But they had mercy. After everything they went through, their women are gone, their children are gone. Their cities have been set to fire. But they had mercy on this one guy who, when he got older, they thought that he was going to be a nice person. He made war. One man rebelled and brought in other armies. And more Israelite souls were destroyed. Okay? So, then this black guy comes in. He's talking, he can't wait for this white guy to get done talking so he can talk. He started off good, talking about, what he's reading in the Bible. Then he started talking about Jesus ain't black. He ain't white either. I know, he started saying Jesus ain't white and he ain't Jewish. He ain't black either. And see, what people don't understand about history is that at one time the world was brown skinned. It was dark. It wasn't until a certain time, like white people got to be the youngest race alive. This is why people hate them, because the youngest race alive came and people that are not a race, by the way, and neither is black a race. They're names to separate people that look like him from the brother that's standing right next to him that's getting ready to come on there with some black behind nonsense. Okay? They're to separate these two people. See these two people right here? They're black and white is a way to separate these two people. They're not racist. Okay? If you're black, you're from the other side of the world. You might be near Africa, but you're not African either. Okay? Most of y'all, now some of y'all are African, but not everybody who was on them slave ships was African. Okay? And if you're white, okay, you at one time were from the north. You were from the North Pole, okay? And your race, your bloodline starts somewhere near the North Pole, and it comes further south. If you're black, your bloodline started from the south and started coming further north. This is how we get skin like mine. It ain't pitch black, but it's brown. And a lot of people get me confused with Indians and like there's people around here that speak to me in their language because they think that I'm from Nepal, and I'm not, because in Nepal a lot of Nepalians look like they're Indian. Like the women look like they're Chinese, or Filipino or something. And the men look like they're Indians. They look like they're from India. It's really weird. You don't really understand that. It's weird. It's really weird how that works. Like most of the women that are from Nepal look like they're Chinese or, of course they are Asian. But the men don't look Asian. The men look like they're from the Middle East. They look Indian, But there's Indian people up here. There's actual Indian people up here. There's actual Arab people up here, too. Okay, a lot of immigrants up here. And there's probably about 2% Spanish up here. I always say Spanish because there's so many Spanish colonies. I don't know if you're Puerto Rican, Latino, you're actual Spain, or you're from Honduras, or I don't know where you come from. Cuba, I don't know. I just know you speak Spanish, okay? I can look at you and tell you speak Spanish, okay? But my point is that Jesus was not black either. And back then, if he was brown skinned, that was the norm. Like today, a lot of the positive nations, you go to any positive nation, the people are going to be Caucasian. Okay, you go to any positive nation, the people are going to look Caucasian. If where are the most peaceful nations in the world? They ain't brown-skinned nations. Name me a brown-skinned nation that is beat any white-skinned nation or Caucasian-skinned nation in being peaceful. Okay? I mean, even Russia is more peaceful when it ain't going to war than even the United States. Even any brown skin nation, you name it. And if they're not attacking America, if they're not harboring terrorists, then there's no peace in between them and their own people. White people don't go after their own people. Neither do Israelite people go after their own people. Only brown-skinned people do that BS. Go after their own. You got war. We got war coming to our nation. Y'all fighting among yourselves. We only do that here in America. We only do that in Africa. We only do that in the Arab nations, in the Indian nations. Okay, we do that we do that in Jamaica. We do that in Brazil. Anywhere where there is the majority of the population is brown and darker, there's going to be war. And this, my friend, is also biblical. Because if you look at how Africa was left out of if how Africa was left out of a lot that went on in the Old Testament. Africa was left out of it. And whenever you read that somebody went to Africa, it's like, wow, hold up, hold the sermon. Let's read further down, see why this brother went to Africa. But Jesus was not black. He was not African. He was a Jew. And he was the king of the Jews at a time when the Jews had no king because they were under the power of the Romans. In other words, the Jews were separate from the Romans. But the Judaics helped the Jews live in Rome by bowing down to their traditions and their laws and respecting their culture despite theirs. This is another reason why I tell people, whatever your nation you go to, respect that culture. And God understood they were doing this, and if the Jews had tried to rebel against the Romans back at the time of Jesus, okay, they wouldn't be in Israel today fighting with Hamas. They would probably been destroyed a long time ago. And I imagine that if you were to take the Jews out of every nation, okay, and put them all in one nation, they'd probably be smaller than a lot of the rest of us, okay, because of so many of them being killed, and the whole desire of the Arab nations and those related to them has always been to destroy the whole entire race of the Jews. And why? Because just like black people and white people today, the Jews broaden their territories. Black people, white people, Native Americans, okay? The Jews broaden their territories. That means they wiped out the nations that would not let them be in charge when they had everything they needed to be in charge. They said, you could come be with us. And a lot of the founding fathers, or should I say the founding discoverers of America, not just Columbus, but the other ones. Now, I don't know if Columbus was Christian or not, but a lot of the other people, you know, the Protestants that came to this country, they were Christian. They came here, you know, shortly after Columbus, okay? They were Christian. And the abolitionists were Christian. Not all white people were Christians, but the abolitionists were Christians, okay? Now, they read in the scripture, what's wrong with people that dance around the fire in the grass skirts? So they had a little disrespect for Native Americans, and I can see why. And you know why Native Americans are still on reservations today? It's not because white people keep them on reservations, because I know plenty of Native Americans that are living regular civilian life among white people. America ain't keeping them trapped on reservation. You know why they're on reservation? Because they never had what it takes to do this with 50 states. We have the biggest nation in the world because of somebody a long time ago broadening their territory. Now, the Arabs, they broadened their territory, and what do they have? They got Arabs and Indians, Muslims and non-Muslims, and a lot of other BS, okay, fighting among themselves in their own nations. If terrorist groups will always be terrorist groups. They're not terrorist groups because Americans made them that. They're terrorist groups because of what goes on in their own nation. And then they come here and they try to take it out on Jews and Americans. But notice that all these lights, the Hebrew Israelites, and this brother right here, this black brother, he must be a Hebrew Israelite the way he's talking, which that's a false cult. Read your Bible and prove me wrong. It's a false cult. Okay? White people and Jews don't fight with each other. They say, well, Spanish people don't fight with each other. Oh, really? You sure? Why are so many Mexicans coming over here to the U.S. then if Spanish people don't fight with each other? It depends on which Spanish colony you talking about. But white-skinned people in general, that's why people hate us. And Jewish people don't fight with anyone, including themselves. But black people, they'll kill their own people. African people, they're not only killing their own people, they're cooking them and eating them. Okay? In all them nations over there. Crime in Jamaica. Crime in the Bahamas. Crime in Brazil that they don't talk about. You got passport bros, okay, going to Brazil and coming running back here talking about all the crime that goes on in Brazil. And then you wonder why some of these MMA fighters, when they come over here and they make their millions, they don't go back to Brazil. They never go back. They talk about it, but they don't go back. Oh, that's my nation, that's my family, that's my nation. How dare you say it? But they don't go back there. Only the white nations, America, Europe, okay, and the white nations that are in the UK, Canada, these are the most peaceful places. I can drive to Canada. If I get sick of America, I can drive to Canada. I can get a passport and drive right into Canada. I'm not that far away. What am I, 24 hours away? By car. I can drive into Canada. I've been there before. I drove into Canada. I didn't drive into Canada, but I drove there one day. I was in a car with somebody. This was before you had to have a passport to get into Canada. I went on a church group into Canada before. This was years ago. Back when I was a kid, I went to Canada. You can drive into Canada. I never got on a plane. I drove. I was on a van. We went into Canada. Wasn't no border to cross. We drove right in there. Like it was part of New York or something. We just drove right on in there. But I can drive right into Canada. And the people of Canada, if you listen to these white people get on YouTube and talk about Canada, wow, the only thing, and then when they have protests in Canada about, now there's war in Toronto because Toronto is now progressive. Toronto is now LGBTQ and all these things. So there's war in Toronto. But I just got done talking to a dude that I took back to the Pittsburgh airport to fly back home to Canada. Just a week or two ago. And he told me where he lives in Canada. And I said Toronto out of my mind. He said, oh boy, that's not even Canada. That's something else. I don't know what happened to Toronto. But my point is, this war that's going on, I stand with the Jews. And you, my brother, that's preaching a sermon to Valentino, and I had to stop. I didn't even listen to the whole thing. When he went to talk about what color Jesus, who gives a flying flip what color he was? He's God in the flesh. And he died for everybody, whether you're Jew or Greek, black, white, Chinese, or Spanish speaking. He died for everybody. It doesn't matter what color he is. The fact is, he was a color. He was a man's color. Either way you slice it, he's going to have war against him. And oh God, if he wasn't black, oh my God, he's going to have war against him. Because y'all just hate white people. Y'all hate Jews. Of course nobody likes Jesus Christ. He wasn't black. He might have been dark complected at that time. Because like I said, you know, what's Jew today, what a Jew looks like today wasn't what he looked like back then. I mean, all of us, everybody from Spain to Pittsburgh, okay? Everybody from China to Pittsburgh, okay? Everybody from the Middle East to Pittsburgh. What they look like today is not what they look like back then. Do you know that in the Asian nations that fair skin is considered non-fair skin? And that Asian people are taught to bleach their skin because it's more in line, more in sync with television and movies and all like that. So Filipinas act like black women when it comes to black men, white men, and everybody else. Okay, they act like black women. They're always worried about what you think of a Filipina. And my answer to that is, are you a woman of honor, or are you a slut? You a whore, or what are you? So far, the way you dress, I'm trying to figure you out. Like, what's the point? I'm with a Christian woman, whether she's blackness of Africa, deep South Africa, or whether she's the whiteness of Europe, the whitest Europe you can get to. Okay? I'm with a Christian woman. I don't care about all that stuff. Okay? Show me a good Christian woman. But everybody is ashamed of this. I'm not. I tell black people say, you ain't got no black friends. You just love white people. And I tell them, I says, if I woke up white, I'd shoot myself because I'm already black. Now, if I was born white, that'd be different. But if God put a curse on me and made me white, I'd wake up think I had leprosy. I'd shoot myself. Okay? I love being black. What I don't like, what I totally loathe, is anti-Christian, anti-Jew, okay, gay, progressive, liberal ideologies. I totally loathe that garbage. It's non-black. Going all the way back to Martin Luther King, it's non-black. If black ever were a race, they think they were. Okay, Martin Luther King was our leader. He's dead. Wasn't no progressive back in his day, okay? Wasn't no liberals. Okay? Going all the way back to Martin Luther King. Going all the way back to Malcolm X. Going all the way back to the brother that made the light bulb, that made peanut butter. Okay? Jesus wasn't black. He was a Jew. But he wasn't sagging his hand. He wasn't talking about, yo, I'm about to pop the trunk. I'm about to steal yo. I'm about to steal yo. No, Jesus wasn't black. He wasn't black. He was a Jew. Whatever a Jew looked like at that time. And in that time, he might have been as black as Africa. That don't mean he was African, though. just like today. Just because you look like a Jew don't make you a Jew. Now, in closing, also, Valentino asked a question on his show here. He says, you keep telling me to read the Bible. Why you keep telling me to read the Bible? I want a direct answer. Well, if you read the Bible, and then he went to separating the Jews of today from the Jews of yesterday. Let me tell you something. Bible prophecy is like a hurricane. It's like reporting a hurricane or an earthquake. Okay? Bible prophecy is like reporting a hurricane or an earthquake. Okay? If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it don't happen. Now, the Bible prophecy about the Jews means the Jews as a nation. It doesn't have time, and we don't have time to sort out who was Christian and who was Judaic. But when Netanyahu had them Christians on his property, and he was riding them around in a boat with his security attached, armed with an army, he said, and I just read it to you, Christians are Israel's best friends. Where did he get that from? And Israel is America's best friend. Where did he get that from? He didn't get that because he hanging out with Joe Biden. He didn't get that because he hanging out with Donald Trump. He got that because he knows what America stands for. And he got that because he knows what Christians stand for. And he knows that even though the Judaics don't read the New Testament, there's history in the New Testament that needs to be addressed, just like there is in the Old Testament. And he knows that the Jews are kicking themselves in the foot because they don't practice animal sacrifice in the New Testament. The Pentecostal church was started in the New Testament. And the Baptist church was started in the New Testament. Okay? Read it. Now, nowhere in there it says, I want you to go out there and make Baptist churches or Pentecostal churches. But it does put emphasis on baptism and the repentance of baptism. A baptism of repentance. It also talks about the book of Acts, which I don't recommend anybody go to the book of Acts and think that they're going to make themselves an apostle. But I do look at the book of Acts and see that the day of Pentecost, and that day of Pentecost, Paul wrote, I call Paul Pentecostal because he spoke in tongues, okay? Paul wrote the majority of the New Testament. And those others that wrote in the New Testament were followers of Paul and followers of Christ, of course. There's no difference, okay? So to me, the Pentecostal church wins. Even though there's a lot of false Pentecostal churches out there, just like there's a lot of false Jews, okay? The Pentecostal church wins. But Christianity today, advancing from Protestantism to the Baptist church, the Lutheran church, and the Pentecostal church, is still Christianity. Just like today, you got Jews and atheists and gay people that live in Israel, okay? As well as Christians living in Israel. But the question, Valentino, is this. When they say, if you attack Israel, they mean the nation of Israel. They don't mean individual Jews, you knucklehead. If you attack Israel, anything that is named Israel. Now, we got some Jews out here in Pennsylvania that I'm always running into that are non-Semitic. A non-Semitic Jew, check that out. Non-Semitic. But they want to get mad because they once believed in their nation and now they're hearing about babies being burned. So now you want to get up on your high non-Semitic, non-Christian attitude, okay, and get all butthurt. But when you sit up there and cuss and gamble, okay, and do things that Jews don't do, whether they're Christian or whether they're just Judaic, okay, cry me a frickin' river. You don't know nothing about the Bible, Old Testament or New Testament, but you want to get mad about what's going on in Israel. You want to get mad because of what's going on in Palestine. Cry me a frickin' river. Somebody at work was telling me about a brother getting mad because of what they're doing to babies in Israel. What he got to do with Israel? When was he there? Does he go to Israel every year? Does he know how to speak Yiddish? This dude is so atheist and so non-Christian. I can't get enough of him. I just can't get him out of my sight enough. He does everything that's anti-Jew. And he says everything that's anti-Jew. Cry me a river. I don't even believe he is a Jew. I just think he's trying to latch on to something and call himself something. He's a regular bald-headed white boy to me. Anyway, if you attack the Jewish nation, Valentino, you are attacking Jews. You are attacking Israel. Does that answer your question? When he said Israel, the guy explained him, the white dude, the white dude before the black dude came on there trying to turn everything into the Hebrew Israelite cult. Okay, the white dude on there explained to him, it's prophesied in the Bible that the Jews would become a nation, that they would become a nation, Israel, and have their own land. It was prophesied. Then the prophecy. But Valentino didn't understand that. He didn't get that. Okay? If you attack Israel as a nation, the Bible has prophesied against you. If you attack Israel as a nation, the Bible prophesies against you what will happen to you and everyone that goes up against the Jews, namely America. And there are code words in the Bible that stand for, if you look them up in the Hebrew and Greek, they are America. Okay? Okay? So, if America goes up against Israel and takes Hamas's or Palestinian side on this case, okay, we're going to be in a bigger war than what we thought. Okay? And Biden does not know the Jews. He does not know the Bible. He does not know the history. And this is where the Bible becomes a document that you got to be the most nastiest, evil, ignorant SOB that ever existed to sit there and try to say, leave the Bible out of this. Okay? When you say that this is a religious war, they're all religious wars, bro. They're all religious wars. Okay? Especially when it comes to the Arab nations. And who's going to war against America other than the Arab nations? Everybody else that said they were going to war, they always found a way to make peace with America and back up. Russia, okay, and other white-skinned nations have made threats to go to war. Even Asian nations have made threats to go to war with America, and then they say, okay, let's put that off to a worse rainy day. Okay? But these Arab nations and everybody related to them, these brown-skinned people, they keep coming back and making the dumbest reasons for war. And what do they all do when they go to war? They do it in the name of Allah. That's why I have no respect for Allah. Because Allah just lets people kill people, okay, for the dumbest reasons. And he's not a God. He does not exist. Be atheist about that. Allah does not exist. Allah is about the idolatry of a false god of the Arab people. It all begins with Arab, and then it goes into India, and it goes into Palestine, and it goes into Egypt, parts of Africa, and you name it. But it's all Arab. Arab is the kingpin here. They're the kingpin. And women every day in their own nation are being done to them what was done to Israel and what they're trying to do to Israel. They take over their own communities and set them on fire. They rape their own women. They abuse their own women, burn their own women to death, burn their own children to death. They do this to their own people because their religion and their politics has nothing but demons, real life demons involved. More demons on that soil than the rest of the world. I mean, they got more demons than black people killing white and black people here in America. If there's one thing that's more demonic than black people being oppressed of the devil here in America, and the whole slave syndrome, and they don't know how to let it go, okay? It would be the Arabs. They would be the next people. It ain't even Africa. It's Arabs. They're the next. Because there is something special about, I'm not going to say white people are better than anybody. I'm not going to say Jews are better than anybody. But I'm going to say this, there's something special going all the way back to the Bible. Yes, Valentino. I'm going to keep on reading the Bible. Okay? If you don't know it, that's your problem. But going all the way back to the Bible, there is something special about white people. There is something special about Jewish people. That two Jews can get together and try not to laugh. A Jew and an American can get together and try not to laugh at the rest of the world. Even though they're not related. But they can get together and try not to laugh at the rest of us brown-skinned people that can't get this right. Give goddamn respect where goddamn respect is due. Quit worrying about your race. All the nurses, when I was born as a baby, the first person to kiss me when I was just a little bitty baby coming out of my mother's womb. After they cleaned me off, my mother got the first kiss. The second kiss was a white woman. Second kiss was a white woman. How'd I know? My mama told me, okay? It's all white people in that room when I was born. Now later on, black doctors came upon, you know, we got more doctors. I've been to hospitals and everybody was black. I had to pray. The doctor was black. All the nurses were, even the housekeepers were black. I'm like, okay, this is a new America. I need to pray. Okay, I ain't trying to be racist, but y'all know how y'all be, you know. And this one black girl, she's like, okay. What I'm saying is, give respect to where respect is due. White people and Jewish people have their place. Black people have their place. All these immigrants that come into America have their place. First of all, your place ain't to come over here and compete with black people and take away what white people felt that they owed us, regardless of the fact that we don't have the education and we don't have everything to receive it. They felt that because of slavery, they're going to give us this and they're going to give us that. You, my Arab brother, you, my Asian brother, my Spanish brother, my illegal immigrant brothers and sisters, you're not going to take that away from us. You're not going to take that away from us. Basically, long term, we were here first. You're not just going to come and take our land, take our ghettos, okay, what you're doing, and take our land and make fun of us. And then I hear another brown-skinned person call me the N-word? Are you out of your cotton-picking mind? Why didn't you call the dude with his pants sagging? Okay, with the Black Lives Matter t-shirt on. Why don't you call him the N-word? What you call me one for? I'm just parking my car because you didn't beat me into a parking space? You gonna call me the N-word? Like you white? I'm not trying to come over here and fight for the peace of black people or African people. I've been here, but I'm not coming over here, okay, as a covert operation to connect with Africa or to connect with, you know, Jamaica or somewhere else where I feel that I'm related. I'm an American. I am loyalty to America. I am loyal to the United States. I am an American. If I'm not an American, then I only come here to visit my family that's here or visit somebody else or ask the president of the United States for some money or something and go back home. I'm not here to stay. But you got all these people. Why do we have so many protests out there right now? Because you got all these people out there that this war showed you, just like Donald Trump getting in office, it showed you the divide between one American and the next. We're not all on the same page. Now it's worse. Now this war on Israel showed everybody that immigrants in America are divided. Immigrants and white people in America are divided. Immigrants and black people in America are divided. There's people living in this nation that hate our flag. They hate our president, whether he's Republican or Democrat, that is. They hate our culture. They hate white people. And they think white people are the biggest idiots in the world. Which, well, I said black people. They think black people are the biggest idiots in the world. In some cases, we are. In some cases. Okay? But we can go to school just like everybody else if we do it. That's the question. If we do it. We can go to school like everybody else. We can leave our politics behind us like everybody else if we do it, but we don't. But we could do it. Okay? Just like you could do it. But this nonsense is, again, an attack on white people. Because you think white people in 2023 are America. Maybe they should be. Okay? But I tell white people every day, I'm an American just like you are, brother, sister. I'm an American just like you are. Maybe you migrated here before all these other brown-skinned people got here. But I was here. I was your bread and butter for how many years before, hello, black people, a white man decided to set y'all free. That's why I don't hate white people, because the same white people that enslaved us, it took somebody of their own seed to come and deliver us. It wasn't King. He came after we were free. And it wasn't any of the inventors in the black communities. It wasn't any of the educators in the black communities. It wasn't any of the people that were in politics in the black communities. It was the white abolitionists, first of all. And then it was Abraham Lincoln. Okay. Who felt that he had to compromise because of the war at hand. They say, well, he didn't really. It doesn't matter. The point is, he did it. Okay, it doesn't matter why he did it. He did it. Ain't nobody getting paid. Ain't nobody meeting Jesus for liking you. Ain't nobody got to like you. The point is, we're here. And if we can be at peace, and if we can respect those that are already here, and those coming in here can respect us that were already here. You see what I'm saying? Then we have peace. I saw this video of this Indian dad and his daughter sitting in the car. It was a short. It was a funny video. But dad was sitting in the front and his little Indian, cute little daughter was sitting in the back. She had to be like 7 or something like that. And I think it was Whitney Houston that came on the air. His daughter could sing like Whitney Houston better than most black folks I know. His daughter could sing like Whitney Houston, and she made every syllable. She sounded like her and Whitney Houston was one voice. She sounded like she taught Whitney Houston. That's what I like to see in this culture. This is what I like to see in America. I like to see people saying, hey, I'm an American, so I like country music. People work say, hey, that's country music. No doubt, it's American music. What do you want, dude? Because I like Rascal Flatts. I like Rascal Flatts. I like Rascal Flatts. I like most boy bands that I've ever heard. I like pop music, mainly boy bands and even though Whitney Houston's got to be, not Whitney Houston, what's her name? Britney Spears. She got to be one of the most wickedest white women I've ever met, but I listen to some of her tracks, okay, because the bass in the background and the beat and the dance steps and everything is just awesome. Okay, I still listen to Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson had just as many white followers as he had black. I even heard one black dude listen to one of Michael Jackson's songs. He saw all these white women stepping and dancing to it. He's like, man, that's too white for me. Okay, because Michael Jackson wasn't trying to just please black people. Okay? He was trying to appease to America. That's why they called him at one time the king of rock and another time the king of pop. Okay? Because he was into American music and how to be black. Be into American music within the limits of being black. Okay? And I'm using that as an example. I'm closing. I'm using that as an example of how we're supposed to behave in this country. We're not supposed to be coming over here when, well, you know, we're going to build 100 mosques over here and we're going to have all our people live over here. We're going to be a bunch of Christians over here and we're not going to allow anybody in here but Christians. We're going to be over here and this is all belonging to the Jews and we're going to be over here and this all belongs to, you know, white people or French people or no. And I appreciate in neighborhoods like mine where we have villages like this that are, you know, a lot of immigrants. We have some white people up here too, but they're the lowest number of people up here. But this area where I live in is a high class white place. Like if I drive a mile out from here, you don't see the only brown skinned people up here are people that are shopping. The people that live here are all pro-white, okay? Now, there are areas around here that are black. And when I see black people living in nice neighborhoods that are not the projects, okay, and things like that, then I feel like that's the way it's supposed to be. But what we're not going to do, what we're not about to do, is turn this into, we're not going to try to worry about for every white person that moves in on this side of the street, a black person got to move in on this side of the street because we got to keep, no. Because again, there's a reason why there's peace in the white nations and there's peace in Israel. And the only people that want to get inside those white nations and the only people that want to get inside Israel are brown-skinned people that have no clue of what God is doing with America, or what he's trying to do with America. We have to say that nowadays. And what God has already prophesied about Israel. You cannot have their land. You cannot retaliate because they broadened their territories way back when. Just like, you know, we're not going to keep apologizing for slavery. It's over. We're not going to turn white people into slaves and put chains on them and hit them with a whip, okay? And you know, I always said this, if it was the other way around, because they do it in Africa, okay? If it was the other way around, they'd have killed all the white people. There wouldn't been no white slaves. They saved your behind by making you a slave. Back then it was called employment. Today employment is different. Today you can fire your boss. I do it all the time. I'm about to do it when I go to work next week. If I go in there and they handing me that same old bull crap, telling me to do something that ain't fair, I'm gonna fire my boss. Today you can fire your boss. I do it all the time. Today, okay, you can buy the company you work for. You say, you know what? I'm going to turn this company into something better. I got the money. How much money I got in my pocket? Oh, whoa, that's a lot of money. I'm going to go get a business loan. How much you want for this company? I'll buy it from you. You can do that as a black man today. Sad thing is, though, you can be a terrorist and don't nobody know it. And if one person know it, that ain't enough. But you can be a terrorist and do the same thing. And they are doing that. You got no-go zones right here in America. You got no-go zones where Arabs and Asian people own property. And you pull your car down there, they got their own Arab security. Shouldn't be. When you go into their nations, you ain't allowed to be black security or white security. When you go into their nations, you ain't allowed to just go in there and just do whatever you want to do. You can't even drive a car. They can come to this nation, okay, and rent a car at Enterprise and go to wrecking into everything, which they always do. Because they don't know the streets. They don't know the roads. They don't know the traffic laws. But we're not allowed to do that in their nation. We're not allowed to just go in there and buy a house without going through a series of crazy things first. We're not allowed to just go and buy a car or rent a car. No, we're a guest in their house. We ride the tour bus. We're a guest in their house. We got to get escorted. We got wall-to-wall security around us and everything else. And then this is how they treat us. Are you getting this? I am Leroy Cruz. I am your life applications officer. I hope you stayed and watched the end because I preached the sermon. If you attack the nation of Israel, look out. Look out. Lou Valentino. Anyone that attacks the nation of Israel is prophetically in danger. Now, some of y'all are attacking the nation of Israel because you don't know better. God might have mercy on you. But the Arabs influencing Hamas, influencing Palestine, okay, they know what they are doing. Trust me. I am Leroy Cruz. I am your life applications officer. I am going to put this on my political channel because this was too political. Too political. I'm going to put this on here. I think I'm going to put it on my Cruz for Christ channel too because there's a lot of Christians out there acting like idiots about this whole thing. Don't mess with Israel. End of discussion. That way, whether you were influenced to mess with Israel or whether you're messing with Israel because you're part of it, because you're a part of it, okay? Don't mess with Israel and you won't have to worry about what's going to happen to you. You will be safe unless you ain't saved. Then you're still going to miss out. You're going to miss out on because after all the war is over comes the afterglow. After all the war is over comes the banquet. Comes the big dinner party. You know, when we're all dead, then comes the banquet. And there's going to be a lot of people that ain't at that banquet. And I hope that I don't go to the banquet. I don't go to the dinner party. I don't go to the celebration. And I'm the only black person there. There ain't no black people. There ain't no Palestinians. There ain't no Arabs, no Africans, no Jamaicans. There's a lot of people I want to see, but God has already shown me that. He's already shown me that there are a bunch of black people, a handful of black people anyway, that I will see when I go to glory because they were very, very good people. They wasn't just black, like Maxine Waters. But they was black because they love everybody. They love you whether you're a Democrat or Republican. They love you whether you Trump or Biden. They just warning the right people. They're just on the right side of this war. They're on the right side of religion, beliefs, politics. They're on the right side of it. So I know they're going to be in heaven. But it ain't going to be like when we get there, the first person to shake my hand is going to be black because we don't think that way in the kingdom of heaven. We ain't trying to go up there and hang out with black folks. We ain't trying to go up there and hang out with Jews or try to go up there and hang out with Palestinians and all that kind of stuff. We're trying to hang out with the people that love God. The first person that shakes my hand will not be like me. Trust me. He'll look totally different than me. Because, praise God. But I'm going to finish listening to Valentino. I probably won't end up doing Uber today because I end up making this video. But I got some beef to deal with Uber too. So me and them need to get on the phone and scream at each other a little bit. But if you don't know, there's two things you can look at. You can look at your Bible, and I wouldn't stop there. I'd look at the history. Just like right now, right after Valentino got done. I don't understand. I'm just saying it's because you're a Christian. The Christian day. I went on the internet and it was right there. The answer's right there. That stuff ain't written by Christians. That's written by people that tell the truth about politics. They're written by people that tell the truth about the history, whether they take Israel's side or they take the side of the enemy. They're saying what happened. All the way up to this war that's going on right now. You can look this stuff up on the internet. Okay? You can look this stuff up on the internet. And I don't advise you to just look it up on the internet. If you really, really want to get out there and preach about it, then you need to talk to some Jews. And you need to, if you can't talk to Jews, read up on some Palestinian. Hold up. What is this going on right here? Hold up.
You said you were surprised the Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi didn't try to impeach him. You said,
oh, this was,
which personally I think would have been a wonderful thing. Close quote. When you were asked what you meant by that, you said, for the war. For the war. He lied. He got us into the war with lies. Do you still believe President Bush should be impeached? Should have been
impeached?
First of all,
I have to say, as a businessman, I get along with everybody. I have business all over the world.
Oh, this was before he became president.
I know so many of the people in the audience. And by the way, I'm a self-funder. I have my wife and I have my son. That's all I have. I don't have this. So let me just tell you, I get along with everybody, which is my obligation to my company, to myself, etc. Obviously, the war in Iraq was a big, fat mistake, right? Now, you can take it any way you want, and it took Jeb Bush, if you remember at the beginning of his announcement, when he announced for president, it took him 5 days. He went back. It was a mistake. It was a mistake.
It
took him 5 days before his people told him what to say, and he ultimately said it was a mistake. The war in Iraq, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives. We don't even have it. Iran is taking over Iraq with the second largest oil reserves in the world.
Like I said.
George Bush made a mistake. We can make mistakes, but that one was a beauty. We should have never been in Iraq. We have destabilized the Middle East.
But so you still think he should be impeached?
I think it's my turn, isn't it? You do whatever you want. You call it whatever you want. I want to tell you, they lied.
Okay.
They said there were weapons of mass destruction. There were none, and they knew there were none. There were no weapons of mass destruction.
All right.
That same government that said that there were weapons of mass destruction, that same government, it's the same government that we're now going to rely on to lead us. The same government we haven't been trusting. This administration, we're definitely not trusting this. Are we trusting this administration? No. Don't turn into Jeb Bush. Y'all are literally turning into exactly who Trump was talking about. Some of y'all have turned into because of what happened in Israel. Wake up. Some of y'all, please.
Now.
What the fuck happened? Like, some of y'all turned into Jeb Bush. All of a sudden, in one night, yo, we gotta go in there, kill them all, wipe out Gaza. I don't give a fuck. Whoa. Take it easy. How do we know this wasn't orchestrated by Mossad, the CIA? How do we know Netanyahu wasn't on it? How do we not know? We don't know nothing. We don't know nothing. It could be that 10 years from now.
I don't mean to be, a terrorist. And I don't mean to sound like a terrorist, but if they don't have weapons of mass destruction, yes, we should not be just going on there and just blowing them away. But I do believe that we need to stop terrorism. Now, one thing about George Bush, and George Bush said this out of his own mouth, he said he was going to chase terrorism. Now, if he lied or he was lied to about weapons of mass destruction, okay, that's one thing. But I agree with him. After 9/11, George Bush was passionate and upset about 9/11. He vowed, and everybody knew before they voted for him, that his number one thing was to go after Al-Qaeda. It's Al-Qaeda, okay? I remember him saying Al Qaeda. Okay. He said out of his own mouth that he was going to continue to go after terrorism until it was done. And he made, before he stepped out of office, he made their prime minister in that whatever country that is, whatever Arab nation that is, he made them promise to stop the terrorism, if you remember correctly. Okay. He did actually talk about what was being said, what was coming to the table. I think he even went to one of the Arab nations and sat down with them. Okay, in the middle of all that war. Okay, if I remember correctly. Okay, he wanted to just go after the terrorists. He wasn't trying to go after innocent families. Even in the midst of their demon activity and beliefs, he wanted to go after the terrorists, and he wanted to stop the terrorists because he never wanted 9/11 to happen again. And he vowed that 9/11 would never happen again. And that's what he promised the people when he became president. That was one of the things that made me vote for Bush. He must have been the second Republican that I voted for. Okay? And no, was he? Yeah, he was the first Republican that I voted for. Because Bill Clinton was in office before George Bush, right? So yeah, he was the first Republican actually that I voted for. I voted for George Bush because I wanted to put an end to terrorism. What happened on 9/11, like George Bush said, will never happen again. Now, going in there and wiping them all out, when it's just a terrorist group, it's not the whole nation. If you can go in there, but like I said in the last video I did on this crap, they weren't able to save the woman and the children when they went in there and got Osama bin Laden. Many of them were killed in the crossfire trying to stand up for Osama bin Laden. So you don't know what you're getting into when you walk out there and try to deal with this stuff. But you still got to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? That's just like if I'm shooting, if there's bullets shooting in my house, okay, and someone's shooting through this window and I shoot back, I cover fire through that window, there may be some hot chick walking up the street, pushing a stroller. She just got shot. Because I can't even see where I'm shooting. I got my wife hiding behind me and I'm shooting, okay, to keep them back, and it's keeping them back. But somebody was dumb enough to come up the street carrying a stroller. Her and her baby got shot by my fire. But my intent was not to kill the woman. My intent was to get this fool that's shooting in my window. You see what I'm saying? You got to think rationally and spiritually and not so much politically all the time. You got to think about what this nation is about and not your libido. Not where you're going to go and dance tonight. Not where you're going to go and get a BJ tonight. You got to think about the more moral side of this country and what we stand for up in here. You got to. You got to. You got to. All right. You got to think about the moral side of things. And when your windows start getting shot in and a bomb has hit your neighborhood and all like that, you got to think about where you're going to spend eternity. You got to think about whose side are you really on. Do you really need to be a Democrat right now? Is this the time to be a Democrat? Do you really need to be an atheist right now? Because the only thing that's going to stand between you and a missile is God. It ain't luck, it's God. Oh, well, we didn't get shot, so we're still atheists. Yeah. What about all the atheists that are dead? What's so special about you? There is no room right now for you to be an atheist. There's no room for you to be gay. There's no room right now for you to be thinking about, like AOC. Who's she gonna go out with tonight? What's she gonna wear to the dance party tonight? Because we're still, the bars are open, the dance clubs are open, the parks are open. You know what I'm saying? They would rather lie to us than have us in fear. Now, I'm not saying that the war is over here. It's not over here. There's no war. Nobody's threatening, as far as we know, to come after America. But I'm telling you, if the United States takes the side of Israel, they're good. And Israel will back them up because they took their side. Matter of fact, I think Israel is our allies if we go into a very hostile war. I think Israel would back us up. Like, I think Israel might back us up against Russia if we went to war with Russia, or I think Israel would back us up. They would reach out to us. Okay? But, especially if it was boots on the ground or people, something of that nature, people, getting into the sea, trying to cross the river and all like that. And I also think there's certain Asian nations that would back us up. And the continent of Asia is so divided. They would just be blown away by Korea or something if they tried to help us or something, But, America is not powerful because of greed. America is not powerful because of the LGBTQ community. It's not powerful because of the Democratic Party and liberalism and all like that. America is powerful because America was founded on Christian principle. And God promised this for nations that are Christian principle. He promised them power. He promised them protection. America, as long as America is majority Christian, well, I wouldn't say majority Christian, but as long as America is majority God, and they believe in morals that support an actual living holy God, and not just morals of war, because your morals of war is always about don't kill, even though they shot at you first, don't kill. Okay, no, God is a God of war. Get that in your thick skull. God is also a God of war. Okay, God is not the kind of God that just said, when God said turn the other cheek, that didn't mean for you to sit there and let people come in here and kill you and your children and let your wife get raped and all like that because he wants you to turn the other cheek. That's not what the scripture means. Actually, what that scripture means, that it says if your brother find you in fault and he decides to slap you on your right cheek, then turn the left also. In other words, if the person is angry with you for something that you did wrong, then you accept his retaliation as long as he doesn't take it to the extreme. Okay? As long as he doesn't take it to the extreme and get carried away with it. But when it comes to throwing rockets and missiles and using guns and all like that, you can't use that scripture because it's either kill or be killed. And that's the way it is when you go into a nation. If you shoot a rocket over here and kill and start killing, you've already killed women and children. Okay? It's either me send a rocket back and kill more territory than you sent, or be done completely. Okay? But America is not the most powerful nation because we're never going to go to war. We're never going to use those nuclear weapons. No, that's not why we're the powerful nation. We're the most powerful nation because of our connection with the Jews. We're the most powerful nation because of the founding fathers of this nation having their Bibles open when they wrote the Constitution. That's why. Now, it might not be a Christian nation, but it is still one nation under God with justice for all. It still is. Okay, atheists. Okay, it still is. So, if you don't understand that whose side you're on, then stay out of all of it and keep your mouth shut. If you don't understand what side you're on, stay out of all of it and keep your fat mouth shut. So I can tell you, I am D-Roy Cruz. I am your life applications officer. It's going to take me all day to edit this video. Man, I'm going to have to, there must be 6 of them. But I'm going to get out of here. I got things to do. I ain't got time to be trying to talk to itching ears, people that don't listen. Okay? But you can watch this video. Things are escalating fast. Millions are, what do you say here? What do you say here? Millions are what? There it is right there. Things are escalating fast. Millions are unprepared for what's coming next. That's what Valentino said. But we can't always trust the news either, because the same news that lied about Donald Trump might be lying to you about the Jews and lying to you about the Middle East. So, I say be careful, okay? But God bless you. I'm out of here. I'll talk to y'all later.